In the previous episode, we focused on the front view of the head, but today's episode will explore something a bit more challenging, a head tilted upward. As always, we begin the construction with a circle. The circle represents the width of the face, and from the top it defines the edge of the skull. This spherical base is key. It allows us to rotate the head in any direction we want. That's exactly why we started with it in episode 1. After the circle, we draw the center line, which divides the head evenly in half. Then, we place the brow line right in the middle of the circle. Now here's the first important check. Once we draw the center and brow lines, we analyze. Did the head move up, down, or sideways? In this case, the head is looking upward. That means our horizontal lines need to move up, while the vertical lines stay straight, as long as the face isn't turning left or right. Next, I measure the amount of upward tilt I want. This can be based on a reference photo or by personal judgment. Then I move the nose line upward by the same distance as the brow line. Remember, from the front view, we place the nose line just below the bottom sixth of the sphere. I measure the distance between the brow and nose lines, and use that to find the position of the chin. But this time, add a bit more space beneath, because the chin will appear more visible when the head is tilted up. Now I draw the two jaw lines, starting from the middle of each side plane and angling steeply downward. The upward tilt makes the jaw angle sharper and more dynamic. Next up, the hairline. If you observe carefully, the forehead now appears shorter. That's because the hairline has moved upward and out of view, so we place it near the top of the circle, just touching the edge. Now I define the width of the chin and move on to the ears. The top of the ears usually aligns with the nose line, and since the head is tilted, the ears also follow that upward curve. Part of the ear will appear to emerge from outside the circle. One thing to keep in mind, I make sure the ears don't reach too far up to the hairline or sideburns. Then I draw the second ear with the same structure, but I slightly vary its shape to make it feel more natural and less mechanical. I place the side planes of the head slightly behind the brow line, just before the outer edge. These are drawn with straight vertical lines. I do the same on the opposite side of the face. Now I draw the hair volume, and as you can see, it extends a little outside the top of the circle. But since the top of the head is tilted away from us, the hair volume appears flatter. At this stage, we've captured one of the trickiest angles in portrait drawing. Loomis's genius lies in starting with the external construction before adding the inner features. But to master this, you really need to study each facial feature separately, and we'll be doing exactly that in the upcoming episodes. Let's complete the neck. Along with the muscles that connect to the base of the skull, quick anatomy tip, the neck connects not just to the bottom of the skull, but curves around and attaches behind the ears, forming a wide, supportive structure that holds the head. This anatomy is especially important in tilted angles like this one. Now I measure the width of the nose using the side points. Based on the overall face width, the exact nose width varies from person to person, so don't rely on a single formula. Now I define the planes of the nose. We begin with the bottom plane, which is tilted upward. Because the face is lifted, this plane becomes more visible and dominant. At the same time, the top surface of the nose becomes less visible. From both sides of the nose, I draw vertical lines upward. These will help me place the inner corners of the eyes. Here's an observation. The space between the eyes is usually equal to the width of the nose. We measure this from the area where the nostril wings connect to the skin, not necessarily from the outer edge of the nostril itself. Let's move on to the eyebrows. We draw them along the brow line, following the curve of the face, and make sure they connect with the side planes. Now for the mouth. I first identify the dots, one to determine the height, and one for the width. I start just a small distance below the nose. The upper lip follows the same curvature as the nose, creating a natural flow. Because of the angle, the bottom lip now appears smaller than the upper one. The upper lip becomes fully visible. Also, many artists mistakenly measure the mouth width from the eyes, which can throw off accuracy. A better method is to use the nose as a reference point. It's more stable and gives better results. Next, I draw the nostrils, placing them slightly higher than the wings of the nose, following the plane of the face. Let's draw the eyes now. They start from the straight lines coming up from the nostrils. The width of each eye is measured from the tear duct to the outer edge of the eyelid, not including eyelashes. You'll notice I rarely draw lashes in these tutorials. That's because I want to keep the focus on structure and angle. Then I move to the second eye and repeat the same construction method. Back to the mouth, I draw the detailed lines. Starting from the V shape of the upper lip, I connect to the corners of the mouth with soft diagonal lines. Then I sketch the lower lip, but I don't fully connect it to the mouth corners. This helps preserve the three-dimensional form and shows the lip's volume. And that brings us to the end of episode 2. This was a challenging upward angle, but with the Loomis method, we were able to break it down step by step. In episode 3, we'll continue exploring more complex angles and facial features. New episodes drop every Thursday at 6 p.m. Cairo time, so make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. You're on your way to mastering portrait drawing, one head at a time. See you next week.